Hey guys, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Reviews and to our New Year's Eve season finale spectacular. As I said in our holiday card, I cannot thank you, the viewers and subscribers, enough for all your support and your encouragement and your suggestions and most of all your attention during this first season of BBR. It has been a genuine pleasure to learn and grow, and I could not have done it without you also. So thank you very much. So brought you a very special beer that I think is, the way I acquired it is emblematic of the supporting community that's helped me along on this journey here. Coming to us from Chris Lofgren, one of our very first viewers, one of the instigators of this whole thing. We have Goose Island's Bourbon County Brand Stout. But it's coming from his cellars and from a long time ago. This is the 2017 edition. And it's going to be the first beer we use to check out barrel-aged beer. It's going to be starting a new series here when the BBR resumes in January. That's January 16th. Mark your calendars. Along with wild ales and hazy and intense IPAs, I think barrel-aged beers are one of the kind of three pillars of American craft beer. And like those two other types of styles, it's really kind of a universe to itself that, you sort of have to start small with just, the classic bourbon barrel-aged stout, and then, it expands so far into so many different approaches, techniques, barrel types, base beers. And so, we're going to poke around in all those different corners to help you figure it out, because this is one of those styles that can really set you back a lot of money, and you don't want to end up with a 750 milliliter bottle of something that you just don't enjoy. So we'll get to that. But in the meantime, let's crack this very special bottle that was gifted to the BBR open and see what 4 years in the cellar has done to it. A couple bits of BCBS trivia while we carefully open this. You may notice on a lot of, at least the newer bottles, it says established 1992 on the side, and I think I'll drop the actual article down in the episode description. But the Chicago Tribune did a little investigative journalism and found that the first batch was actually probably made in 1995. Now, it's still, in 92 or 95, BCBS isn't going to be the oldest barrel-aged beer that's been commercially available in the United States. I believe that honor goes to Sam Adams' Triple Bock that they made a few times. But it certainly is the one that popularized everything. And I think, whichever date is correct, who knows, it's been lost to the sands of time. It's certainly a historically and aesthetically significant beer. But let's take a look at this particular version. You'll notice it's an Imperial Stout. It is pitch black. Absolutely nothing getting through. You also notice not much of a head here. I don't know how carbonated this was. One of the things I think we're going to do next season is I got some this year's BCBS. We're going to crack that open too and see what the younger version is like. But, that time in the barrel, this isn't going to be a highly carbonated style to begin with anyways. So, looks a lot like your classic stout. But let's go ahead and give it a smell. This is an imposingly deep smelling beer. First thing is a very rich and I would say surprisingly sweet and slightly fruity chocolate aroma. It's not the chocolate aroma you would get from like a freshly opened Hershey bar or even like a slice of chocolate cake. It's more like the aroma of chocolate you get from really dark roasted coffee, where there's some of the sort of coffee acids and the fruity characters they can bring into it. There's also, I would say, almost equal parts very rich, weedy bourbon, the kind of aroma you get from swirling a glass and giving it a little bit of time to warm in your hand. It's not imposingly boozy by any means, which is impressive because I believe this one tips the scales at almost 15% ABV. I think it's 14.7 if memory serves. It's a lot more like Four Roses bourbon, if you ever had the small batch or the single barrel. It has that very smooth, almost honeyed character with not nearly the heat that a lot of other bourbons can have. So that's what it smells like. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Wow. The chocolate that I got first on the nose is very evident in the flavors here. Now, one thing, I think I've mentioned this before with very big beers, I let this warm up a little bit. This isn't fresh out of the fridge. This was sitting on my counter for about 15 minutes or so to bring it up a little bit. And boy, does that make the sweet, desserty richness that I've certainly tasted in other BCBS editions in certain years. I've never had a stout this chocolatey. I mean, I would almost... If I had this and you told me that it was a stout brewed with actual chocolate or cacao nibs, I'd believe you. That's how strong that impression is. The bourbon is much more in the back than it was in the aroma. There's certainly some of those oaky and vanilla and honey notes of bourbon character in the background, but it's much more of a supporting role. It's really, I almost can't believe just how much like a slice of dark chocolate cake or even German chocolate cake, because there's a little bit of a kind of coconutted note to it as well. It's a really impressive marriage of the character of the barrel and more so the character of the underlying beer, the very dark, roasty malts that went into making the stout before it was put into barrels. And this is certainly something that we're going to talk about as we go on a barrel-aged journey next season. But just in the same way that the fruited and adjuncted beers that we've tried in other styles, to me at least, need to first and foremost be a beer before they bring the other flavors, I think a barrel-aged stout, it still has to be fundamentally a stout beer. It can't be bourbon with some fizzy characteristic to it. And so, more than anything, that might be what I think I like about BCBS in general and about this beer in particular, is that it is such a rich and lovely stout. And the barrel character at once supports those flavors without overwhelming them, and also doesn't just impose a really intense booziness that you get from a lot of barrel-aged beers, even at much lower ABV than 14.7% here. So overall, really, really well done beer, and a really, really enjoyable season. Great to be able to share all these spectacular beers with you. Again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all your support and attention. Don't forget, put January 16th on your calendar. We'll be back with the Season 2 premiere. But until then, signing off for the season. Bye now.